Welcome to the deep dive. If you're involved in, any kind of complex initiative, launching a new product, a big system implementation, a major organizational change, you know that the line between a huge success and just a catastrophic failure can be razor thin. It's often about dodging just a few really common pitfalls. So today, we're here to give you that tactical shortcut, how to spot and deal with those risks before they even start.
And our source material today is fantastic for this. It's from a CEO and board advisor who's taken what could be, a project manager's risk list with hundreds of items and just boiled it all down to 5 core pitfalls.
Yeah.
Just 5. And these are the ones that consistently kill projects, no matter the industry, no matter the methodology.
Right, and what I love about it, what really makes it stick, is how the author does it. They use these really memorable, sometimes pretty surprising pop culture references to anchor each risk in your mind. But the title of the article is just perfect. It's "The Streets Are Deep, You Better Learn How to Swim."
It's a great frame, yeah. So our mission for this deep dive is to get past the clever packaging and pull out the actionable solutions. Because these 5 risks, they're universal. They undermine the 5 things you absolutely have to know for any project, which are where you're going, how you'll get there, with whom, for how long, and what it's all going to cost.
Yeah.
If you get those 5, you can navigate the streets.
Okay, let's get straight to it then. If we're talking about where we're going, that's risk number 1. And it's tagged with a John Cena reference, which is, "You can't see me."
Mm.
This is that foundational failure, having objectives that just aren't clearly articulated from the get-go.
The author has this beautiful description of what happens. It's not like the project fails on day 1. They say it's like swimming in a swamp. You feel busy, you're definitely moving, but you have no real idea if you're, floating toward your destination or toward a lurking alligator. It's just this chronic uncertainty.
Okay, and that's where I want to push on this a little bit. Because for our audience, people who know this stuff, saying, "Be clear on your objectives," that sounds a lot like Project Management 101. Why does this one keep popping up in organizations that should know better?
That's a great question. It's because clarity often gets confused with consensus. People think they all agree on the big picture, but they haven't actually operationalized what that means.
Hello.
So the key insight here isn't just state the purpose. It's about defining the measurable success criteria right up front. And you have to link those criteria back to specific business value. The only way to stop that swampy feeling is to mandate a definition of done before anyone even starts the work.
So instead of something vague like, "We're going to improve customer service," it has to be, "We will reduce call resolution time by 20% by Q3, which will result in X amount of savings." That level of specificity is what stops the scope creep, right? It cuts out all the non-value-added stuff and keeps everyone, as the article says, on the boat.
Exactly. And once everyone is on that boat and they're all clear on the map, you have to make sure they can actually hear each other. Which takes us right to risk number 2. The reference is Destiny's Child. Say my name. This is all about the failure of communication, information getting distorted.
We've all seen this happen. The author uses that classic analogy of the Chinese whispers game. A critical instruction starts out crystal clear.
And by the time it gets to the last person, it's completely unrecognizable.
Yeah, and what's so fascinating about this in a company is that the distortion often happens because of the org structure, not because anyone has bad intentions. You've got 5 different teams, 5 reporting lines. You're going to get 5 versions of the truth. And that just creates these massive misunderstandings and delays.
So the fix isn't just talk more. That's way too vague. The specific protocol here is mandating a single source of truth, some kind of living document, and setting up really clear, non-negotiable communication channels. But the source material? It stresses that the real goal is highly engaged stakeholders, which means you have to formalize that engagement. You can't just hope it happens through osmosis. This means creating a structured communications plan. Who needs what info, when they get it, how often? And this is the crucial part, building in a feedback loop. You need weekly 15-minute pulse checks with key stakeholders, just to make sure their concerns aren't only heard, but are actually demonstrably being folded into the project plan. You have to actively fight that natural decay of information.
That kind of rigor, it really pushes the conversation beyond just informing people. It's about getting their buy-in, their actual input. Okay, let's shift gears a bit from the what and who to the with what. Let's talk capacity. This is our 3rd core risk, and it's aptly titled 99 Problems via Jay-Z. This means, not enough budget, not enough people, the wrong tech, any of those critical elements you need for execution.
And that inadequacy, it immediately causes the project to slip. And it often forces leaders to commit to these totally unrealistic timelines. They try to hit the deadline, but with like 70% of the staff they actually need.
And this is where we have to bring in that critical factor that someone mentioned in the comments on the source material, competing priorities. Because even if your own resource plan is perfect, if the C-suite suddenly launches 3 other top priority
Oh
initiatives,
yeah. Your best people and your budget just get siphoned away. Competing priorities is the silent killer. It makes your resource plan obsolete overnight. It's like having the right map, but suddenly the road is closed because of a traffic jam nobody told you about. So the risk isn't just under planning. It's assuming the resources you have today are going to be there for the whole project.
the source material has this fantastic, really detailed analogy for this. It says you wouldn't want to go face Goliath with just a stone and then realize mid-fight that you don't even have the paracord rock sling you need to actually use it effectively. The problem isn't the stone, it's the missing enabling mechanism.
That analogy is perfect because it shows it's not just about the quantity of resources, it's about the fit and the allocation. So the solution here has to be more than just a simple resource assessment. It has to involve contingency planning, scenario analysis. Like if a critical developer leaves, or if your funding gets cut by 15%, what's the immediate documented plan? You need redundancy in key roles and some buffer in your budget.
Okay, that leads us really nicely into risk number 4, which is all about the human element. The reference is change, change, change. This is for any project that forces people to change how they work, new processes, new systems. The risk is that fierce resistance and the drop in productivity that you always get if the transition is managed poorly.
And this might be the highest stakes risk of them all because it's 100% people dependent. A transformational leader has to get that identifying the project's technical value is only half the job. That value will absolutely not be realized if the people who have to adopt the change aren't guided through that transition. It's probably the #1 reason big system implementations fail.
It seems so obvious, but you see it all the time. Organizations treat it like it's a technical problem. So what does the source material say a formal change management plan looks like? I mean, beyond just sending out a memo.
It needs structure. The plan has to have 3 core components. One is resistance mapping. You identify who might resist, figure out why, and understand their influence. 2 is building champion networks. So you find your early adopters and empower them to guide their peers. And 3, you need targeted training that goes beyond just click this button. It has to answer the what's in it for me question. If you don't tackle that resistance proactively, people will they'll find subtle ways to go back to the old comfortable process. And that effectively sabotages the entire project.
Right. So you fail to manage the change. And you've just invested all this time and money for a new system to become expensive shelfware. It really highlights that a project isn't done when the system is installed. It's done when the new behavior is fully adopted. Okay, so we've covered clarity, communication, capacity, and adoption. Our last pitfall, risk number 5, is about the deliverable itself, titled Work It by Missy Elliott. And this is just the raw risk of delivering faulty or subpar quality work.
This is the fastest way to destroy internal trust. I mean, besides the obvious things like rework, higher costs, and unhappy customers, the source material gets pretty personal here. It notes that subpar quality makes the project owner look like an incompetent buffoon.
The emphasis on it being a pattern is brutal. They say one mistake, oh, okay, maybe that can be forgiven, but more than one, then you become that cousin we no longer lend money to because their harebrained idea will not work. That kind of reputational damage in a professional setting is so hard to repair. It can permanently taint your future proposals.
The only non-negotiable solution here is to build robust quality control processes throughout the project lifecycle, not just tacking it on at the end. This means you're doing iterative testing. You have clear technical acceptance criteria built into every single phase. Quality control isn't just inspection at the end, it's about prevention. And you ensure that with clear quality gates, that every deliverable has to pass before it moves on.
So there they are, the 5 pillars of failure. Unclear objectives, communication breakdowns, inadequate resources, unmanaged change, and subpar quality. Let's try to synthesize this a bit using the author's big metaphor, the road trip.
Right. If the whole project is a road trip to some amazing destination, these 5 risks are the known potholes you have to identify and navigate around. And the real value of having this distilled framework is that it forces you to keep checking on these specific areas. It doesn't matter if you're using agile sprints or a more traditional waterfall system, these 5 things are always relevant.
It's that universality that makes it so powerful, I think. You can run all the complex quantitative risk assessments you want, but if you don't nail these five very human and logistical fundamentals, you're in trouble. Understanding this simple structure really gives you a robust way to approach any complex initiative you might face.
It gets right to the heart of it. This isn't about the specific technical challenge of, say, building the system. It's about all the organizational dynamics that allow the technical challenge to fail.
Excellent point. So we've given you the map for the known potholes, but let's end with a final, more provocative thought that comes right from the author's metaphor. They mention that sometimes, even with all your planning, you get surprised, and you see a baby elephant coming out to greet you from a deep pothole.
A completely bizarre, totally unforeseen event.
Exactly. So if the five risks we just covered are the known or at least knowable threats, the standard potholes on the road, what does that baby elephant represent? It's that utterly unanticipated, maybe even positive consequence that your diligent planning just could not account for. It's not a failure, it's a wild card.
The question then becomes, if risk management is all about minimizing the downside, how do you prepare your project or maybe even your whole organization, not just to mitigate loss, but to recognize and even embrace that totally unanticipated upside when it just appears out of nowhere?
Something to mull over until our next deep dive.